In this week's video, I will be discussing a few variations of the quadruped position that we've been becoming so familiar with. Variations in which we practice important movement principles that can translate into many areas of life. Firstly, though, I'd like to explain a little bit more about this long spine shape that I mentioned in the last video. That is long, not compressed. This is the foundation of the practice, training our spine to handle load without compressing. So now that our spine is unloaded, what will take on this load? Our core. And that does not mean abs. Core is deeper than that. I'll show you what I mean in a moment. So in this first exercise, we'll be working on rotation resistance in our spine. So I'm going to lift one hand after I exhale, completely stabilize, and my body will try to rotate over to the right side, but my obliques and other core muscles are resisting this rotation. Now I'm breathing into this resistance, and you can really feel the pressure building in your system. Pressure pushing against those muscles that are resisting the rotation. This is how we train them. So now as I lift the other hand, you can really see the obliques on my left side. This is what keeps me stable. This is also keeping me stable without the rotational force, but the rotation exaggerates their role. So relaxing, breathing into pressure, expanding my full torso, decompressed. So the leg now, you can really feel the rotation in your pelvis, or the force that's trying to rotate your pelvis. We are resisting it, of course. Breathing in, training these muscles, training them to keep me stable. And other leg. Inflating, pressurized system, stable spine. The pressure is actually the action that decompresses the vertebrae. You can feel them expanding away from each other. So we're always maintaining a relaxed posture throughout all of these exercises. This is how we teach our body the best. We are not stressing, we are relaxing. So now I'm going to do opposite hand and foot at the same time. This is akin to walking motion. Think right leg forward, right hand back, or left leg forward, left hand back. So this is just a more challenging variation of the same thing we just did. No rotation throughout the body. You can see me shaking though. This is very challenging, but I'm not changing my shape at all, even as I shift weight onto the other side. In order to do this, you have to take your time. You have to adjust the weight gently, steadily, consciously. We're not just jumping side to side. And I can breathe here. You can hold this position for a duration if you'd like, or do alternating breath reps. Either way is fine. I tend to synchronize it with a breath. Here I'm going to demonstrate how you can get your pelvis to rotate a little more posteriorly if you're having trouble activating that motion. So as I shift back toward my heels into deeper flexion, it's easier to allow my pelvis to rotate into a posterior position. Then hold that as I shift back forward onto my hands into the neutral quadruped position. Once you're here, neutral, able to breathe, able to maintain stability, able to maintain shape, you can make it more challenging by shifting more forward toward your hands. This creates a longer lever, which gravity is forcing down against, trying to bend. So maintaining stability in a more challenging position. Breathing, relaxing, maintaining shape. And you can go even further and get a greater challenge. This is also a good way to practice moving into further hip extension without extending your spine. You can put your hands further forward to make it a little bit easier into more of a traditional plank. The challenge can vary in a lot of different ways. Now lastly, I'm going to demonstrate a knee push-up. This is really good for working on the motion of hip flexion, as well as getting into a very deep shoulder extension. So multifunctional practice. Relaxing. I'm in an internally rotated shoulder position now instead of externally rotated. You can do it either way, but I find this feels more natural for the knee push-up. You also get a good stretch of your triceps and the area between your scapula as you go down into flexion. So again, I'm trying to not change the shape of my spine as I go down. I want to feel a hinge at my hips. Now, this next one's not the best demonstration. I kind of just fold over. Not too bad. But it's not a definitive hinge. Exhaling on the way up. Just like a lift, just like a normal push-up. Inhaling for stability. Inflating my whole ribcage. And here you can see more so hinging at the hip toward a 90-degree angle, then hinging back up. Spine doesn't have to bear any of this load. It's all on our hips, shoulders, and core. Give it a try.